Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you from Strasbourg to the afternoon session of today's standing committee. I'm particularly pleased to be back in town after 9 months of absence, and I hope that in due course, to put it this way, all of us will be able to reconvene in this wonderful city and continue our work not only online but also in person with all that allows additional informal exchanges and so on. But for the time being, we keep up our work with the help of technology. And it is my pleasure to welcome this afternoon Ms. Dunja Mijatović, the Commissioner of Human Rights of the Council of Europe, who will address the Standing Committee remotely to present her 2019 annual activity report and to reply to questions. I'm very glad that the Assembly has a regular occasion to exchange views with the Commissioner for Human Rights on topics which constitute the core business of this organization. Since her election in 2018, Mrs. Mijatović has been building a constructive dialogue with Council of Europe member states on a number of thematic issues. She also participates in the proceedings before the European Court of Human Rights and carries out an important communicative and information work. In 2019, as in previous years, there have been growing challenges to human rights standards and principles all over the continent. Additional challenges which emerged in 2020 will make the defense of human rights even more difficult. Our today's reports are entirely dedicated to the impact the COVID pandemic has had on democracies in respect of human rights, especially of vulnerable groups. That is why I'm looking forward to today's exchange of views, which would enable us to take stock of the situation and envisage new approaches to address it. Mrs. Mijatović, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, dear PACE members. Can you hear me? Good. It is a great pleasure to have this opportunity to meet with you today. Although it is only from cyberspace, I would have preferred, of course, to get together with you last April at your plenary session to discuss my annual report as usual. Regrettably, the pandemic made it impossible, and I was only able to circulate my report without a discussion. I trust you have had the chance to read it, to look at it, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have about it later. Instead of going through activity report, I would today like to focus on pressing human rights issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic and the measures adopted to cope with it. During the Standing Committee meeting, you are going to discuss 4 reports linked to the impact of COVID-19 on human rights, the rule of law, democracy, migrants, gender equality and discrimination, and I consider these reports very timely. The COVID-19 pandemic has put a strain on the functioning of our democracies and has exacerbated long-standing human rights problems. Some emergency decrees, often adopted without parliamentary debates, have had a disproportionate impact on particular groups of people. The case of older persons is emblematic, I would say. In many of our member states, they have paid the highest toll, not only due to the health vulnerability associated with age, but also on account of the bad management of the health crisis, including neglect, abuse, and lack of preparedness in long-term care facilities. Those living independently also suffered because of the lockdown measures that further isolated them from their families and the rest of the community, and little was done to limit or reduce this suffering. These issues predate the pandemic. They are the result of structural failings that have been neglected over the years. The human rights of migrants have also been disproportionately affected by the measures adopted to contain the spread of COVID-19. Migrants in distress at sea have found themselves in an even more precarious situation, as if that were possible. Member states have become even more reluctant to carry out rescue them. The pandemic costs, even the way they are being carried out is more blatant on continuing violence against women, of care and resented in a number of countries and may impede women's access during the health emergency is that some countries take violence and violence against women. If they have not, we now have no excuses. We can no longer. A critical point is that we need more to disadvantages. Although different kinds of problems, they all share a common denominator. Your knowledge of the Council of Europe, you have an immense responsibility. Ombudsman institutions and equality bodies, you also have a key impetus to give to international respect for agreed international human rights standards, resolve to mend the cracks in our human rights protection systems and make sure we come out of this difficult time